Wales against Scotland in November. It's not something we're that used to seeing, but it's all done and dusted. Wales have got the result 21 points to 10. So pretty comfortably in the end. It kind of fits between like the All Blacks' massive result against Japan in a 100-point game, and then the English and South Africa have played out a one-try game. This game kind of fits in the middle. Pretty comfortable win in the end for Wales. Both sides, I think, will have things that they'll be looking to work on. Obviously, some guys not available for this game, so both teams will likely field stronger teams next week. But overall, pretty good match. Some really good entertaining moments, and yeah, a few moments of brilliance. So, Halfpenny got us started off with a penalty. George North almost had a try in about, what was it, 13 minutes, but his foot was just in touch. It would have been a real brilliant move if he'd managed to secure it, but not quite. A couple more penalties to Wales, had it 9 points out to 3 early on, and it was looking for me like it was going to be a pretty long day for Scotland. Obviously, they still got beaten by 11 points, so it didn't end up being a wonderful day, but I suppose it could have been worse based on how it was going early. They did manage to hit back with a penalty, make it 9-3. The commentators kind of thinking maybe Scotland should go for the try at 9 points down, but I thought, 9 points is not that much. If you kick a penalty, you're back down to 6, so I was kind of happy with that. Then North really lit the game up. The guy didn't get the ball that many times, but when he gets the ball, it kind of just shifts you to the edge of your seat because he is that kind of player. He just showed an amazing bit of power, lit the whole game up with his try. Went through about 3 people, and as the commentators said, you got to get your shoulder on him because an arm on George North ain't going to do nothing. And he kind of proved that. So Wales move it out to 14 points to 3. Again, looking pretty comfortable after Scotland having got that penalty. But as Scotland went to be undone before half-time, they managed to get a try from a maul. Their maul has, from what limited amount of Scotland action I've seen over the last 12 months, their maul has looked to be a pretty effective tool. Some teams have it, some teams don't. They seem to have it pretty well, and that one managed to work. It took it to 14-10 at half-time. So 14-10, game on, right? It's anybody's game. But not long into the second half, Jonathan Davis got a try, and it was from a really slick little line-out move. Was he pretty much untouched as he went through. That takes it out to 21-10. That's how it finished. There was no scoring for the rest of the game. Scotland did have a lot of the ball. Like, a lot of this game was kind of feeling each other out early. Dunbar had a good break early on. Bit of back and forth. The scrums were a bit messy. But that Welsh work at the breakdown is just incredible. It's all well and good to have the ball and make meters slowly, but every time you're on the ground, you're just at risk of losing the ball because that back row especially, but the whole team seems to be under instructions to really turn that ball over whenever they can. Like, they're not hanging off. They're not waiting for the team to make a mistake. They are going for the kill at the breakdown, and it proved. I don't know how many turnovers there were in this match, but it was a lot. Anytime you got an isolated runner, there was a turnover. So it's almost punishing Scotland sometimes for actually getting over the advantage line. Some of the most phases they were able to build was when they were either static or going backwards. So it's an interesting one because obviously as a coach you want your team to, well, you don't necessarily have to, but obviously it's nice to be playing with the ball if you can, and Scotland were doing that fine. As I said, Dunbar looked good at times. Hastings looked alright. They had moments where they would look to kind of punish Wales, but yeah, half the time they would just get turned over. So it's kind of, I don't know how to feel. Like, good on you, Scotland, for having so much possession, but it couldn't quite crack. It was going to take a real moment of magic to crack that Welsh defence, and it wasn't quite there. For Wales, perhaps they would have liked to play with the ball more, but if you can score off your set piece, if you got George North, who's just got the X factor to break the game open at any time, you don't need the ball. And the All Blacks do the same thing when they play. They don't need the ball to win. So I guess it kind of depends on what the coaches are trying to do, but that defence of Wales is very, very solid. Horn almost had a try for Scotland, and it was a moment of magic. Like, it was a little kick through. He was trying to get the ball over his shoulder to put it into the end goal, but he never really quite caught it. TMO said, nah, he knocked it on, and that was probably correct. Like, my initial reaction was like, nah, he's not got that. First I thought, wow, he's got it, that's magic, and that's exactly what they needed, because it was going to take something exceptional to get past this Welsh defence. But yeah, on closer inspection, he didn't quite get it, but it would have been a beautiful try, because yeah, it was a bit of magic. They also had one potential try chalked off because of a double movement. I forget who it was, but it was that kind of thing that Scotland just didn't quite have enough to get through. It was almost there. Almost. But not quite enough. As I say, man, Wales really able to punish when they had their chances, and just able to, I mean, when you got a kicker like Lee Halfpenny, you got guys like North, and what else can you say? I mean, statistically, you got run meters, Scotland with 411 to Wales's 295. So Scotland have got more run meters. Position and territory is about 60-40 to Scotland. Penalties conceded is 13 to Wales, 12 to Scotland, so fairly even. But yeah, the stats don't mean nothing if you can't get it done on the scoreboard. And one key stat, Wales tackled at 91%. Which is, I mean, 85 is good, but anything over 90 is getting into exceptional, and that's just what it was. I mean, even Scotland tackled at 87, so they could have conceded more points as well, but their defence was solid enough for most of the game. Lineouts of both teams were at 100%, Wales 15 from 15, Scotland 13 from 13. So, I mean, looking at this game, I reckon both of these teams are going to be really hard to beat next week. Wales have got Australia out of form, but Wales have a bad record against Australia recently. It seems to be one of their bogey teams. They should beat Australia based on what we've seen here, but I guess we'll see what the odds are before the game starts. Scotland have got Fiji. Fiji, kind of the ultimate X-Factor team. They've got backs that other teams can only dream of, but whether they can kind of put in a complete performance remains to be seen, because that Scotland team is very solid. And I wouldn't imagine the Fijian defence would be quite as solid as that Welsh one. I don't know, many teams would be able to hold up like that Welsh team held up. So, yeah, those are going to be really interesting games. A few things that were kind of interesting in the game, just as kind of asides. Ken Owens covered in blood. I feel sorry for that man. I mean, Wales got a yellow card at the end. Scotland not able to score on the yellow card as well. It was D for repeated infringements for the Welsh team. Owens comes back on. He's bloodied and bruised, and he just looks a forlorn figure, but he always does the business. Hastings got one pass away. Alan Wynne-Jones just like had him enveloped, and he was going to hold him up for a maul, because he was just holding him. He was not going to go anywhere, but Hastings managed to somehow get the ball out the back door. Those were just two interesting moments. I'm not sure if they'll appear in the highlights, but if you watch the full game, you know what I'm talking about. So there were definitely some moments in this game. Have a look at the highlights if you haven't seen it, because it was a good watch. Bit disappointed for Morgan. He only got 2 runs in the whole game. The ball didn't seem to find its way to him. So, but he's been classy for Ospreys this season. So we'll hopefully see him get another chance in the Welsh jersey. Lydiate made 21 out of 21 tackles. That's just ridiculous. So he had a big shift. I think it was, who got man of the match? I can't remember, but it was Tipuric. Tipuric got man of the match. He made a bunch of tackles as well. So that back row is just deadly. Dunbar looked dangerous for Scots. He made a couple of breaks. He was in a game which didn't have that many breaks. Both teams defending pretty well. George North just showed crazy power. Watson made 14 from 16 for Scotland. So there were good performers in this game. And I do reckon both these teams are going to be really hard to beat next week. As I say, it was unusual to see them playing in November rather than for the Six Nations. But, hey, good game. Scotland really pushing. And not that far away, but the Welsh defence is really something else. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game. Who did you think played well? Who do you think played poorly? Key moments of the game, because there were a few of them. If you haven't seen it, as I said, do go and have a look, because it was entertaining stuff. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.